Dave Risdon, welcome.
Good to be here, mate.
Good to have you here. Why don't we start with an ultra traditional
Ooh,
background
okay.
intro?
I want to preface all of this by saying I face planted on my skateboard 2 days ago, and I've got some gnarly face scars from the incident. It's fun looking back on it now, but and I'll get there. But yeah, me. Quick intro. I'm a freelance content creator, videographer, predominantly based in Christchurch, New Zealand. Yeah.
How did you get started?
Oof.
Because I love this. I love the origin story. I love how you
Cool.
morphed from a totally different industry, role, career into what you are today.
Yeah. Okay, was a high school teacher teaching at Papanui High. Shout out everyone from there. And there were moments throughout my life, I guess now you can look back on those and think, interesting, was that something? You know, Snapchat was big early in the in my partying, you know, June 18 or whatever, in those days. And I'd go out on the weekend and I'd be wanting to film things and share funny moments and document all of that and then laugh about it the next day. When we were at uni, I was studying to be a PE teacher, and we had to make these silly little skits. And so we filmed them. I have no clue how we filmed them. And I was the one tasked to edit, like the majority of the whole year group's videos. And like, did I have experience with that? I don't think so. Like, I was on Windows Movie Maker or something and just figuring it all out. And I guess those were signs that maybe I was just ready to, I loved that world of chopping things up. And then I guess it all kind of, Gary V, you got to shout out Gary V. I was teaching at high school and loving that, loving the kids, loving those moments where you would, something would click and they would figure out that they'd understand the concept that you've been teaching them. I loved all of that. And the staff were really fun as well. But I was just like fascinated with business and branding. And I knew that I wanted to run a business one day or work with a brand, but I didn't really know what it was. But I thought, whatever it's going to be, I think video is going to be important. And video is the way that I want to consume media. I don't want to read the blog. I don't want to look at a few photos of a cafe. I want to see the nice gimbal shot, and I want to look at the Eggs Benedict and all that. You know, that was like my example back in the day. So I better start learning. And so it was before school in the morning. I'd get up 5 a.m. and I'd be watching YouTube tutorials on editing. And I said to my wife, "Look, honey, all I need is a GoPro and a drone. Like, that's all I'll need." And I was so wrong about that. But I just learnt. And then it all started from a place of wanting to showcase Christchurch and get people out and about post-quakes. Like, we were very isolated after the earthquakes, and there were awesome businesses in town that were sitting there saying, "Hey, we're here." But people weren't venturing out and about as much as I think they would have. So I thought, well, hey, if I can make a video to showcase something fun to do in the city so people can go and have quality antics, which was like a term that my friend threw together one night, then that's kind of cool. So I started doing that, and I think you can go back on my YouTube channel and look at those early videos where I head over to local cafes with my friends and talk about them and whatnot. But yeah, and then it kind of morphed into making videos for bigger brands and bigger businesses, and I kind of went from learning video as a tool for this other business to being like, video is the business, like, for me. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so what about that jump out of teaching into full-time freelance?
Yeah, it was like, honestly, I feel like I should say that it was a tough decision, but it just wasn't. It was like I was putting in the time, and at the time I was quoting for a tourism board here in New Zealand for a campaign. And I was honestly about to quote, you know, at the time you just want to do it for anything, you know, a bag of chips and a handshake, and I would have been keen to film this thing around the country. And I asked a good friend of mine, Mark, I said, "Hey, look, I'm quoting for this job." And I'd barely quoted, you know, I was just like doing it in my weekends. And I said, "Here's what they want. Here, what would you quote?" They said color grade. What does color grading mean? You know, in the breakdown. So I was pretty green. And he said, "Oh yeah, I'd be looking about this much." And my jaw just hit the floor. I was like, that's what, I don't know, 3 months or something ridiculous of my teaching salary. And that was kind of a moment where I'm like, okay, hold on. Like if I keep learning, keep leveling up, that I could actually do this full time. So fast forward, handed in my resignation letter to the principal, and he was gutted to see me go, but was kind of like, okay, good luck. This guy's off going to make videos. Like what?
Right. Yeah.
And my students were like, oh man, our teacher's going to be a YouTuber. This is so. And I'm like, no. That's like not it at all. But students, their world is just like, oh, YouTube and that as a career was kind of exciting. So they were all excited to follow along and see what I did. But yeah, and that first year as a freelancer was interesting. It was like a baptism by fire. You had to just kind of make it work, find the clients, build your connections, figure out community, all of that good stuff. Yeah.
But when you put it that way, it's difficult and it takes courage to leave a secure employment, but also, on the other hand, relatively simple model in terms of doing the reps, getting some videos done, doing those videos for the bag of chips, and then before you know it, you can ask for 2 bags of chips.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, it's a couple of bucks, and then you're
Yeah.
up to that point where you are making the 3 months worth of salary.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, there's so much to unpack. I'm like, wait, where do we go? But yeah, I guess another big selling point for me was there was a teacher at Papanui High who was retiring at the same year that at the end of the same year that I quit. So we were both leaving. He'd been there for 40 years, and I could just tell he was going through the motions. You know, he was clocking in, clocking out, and he'd go play golf in the afternoons. He won't listen to this, so it doesn't really matter, but I won't even say his name. And I get it, you know, he'd just been there for ages. And the kids could tell. He was like an old fogey, you know, for the kids. But I was like, man, I could easily just settle into the groove of life and go and coast and not challenge myself and learn new things. And kind of that could be me, you know? And so that was another big push for me to kind of take the leap. And spoke to my wonderful wife and said, this is what I want to do. Leave my safe, secure, permanent paid job. And she was like, yep, like I've got to support you. Like she'd gone out on her own to run a business. She's like, well, you supported me, so I'm here for you as well. So that was like a reassurance as well.
Amazing. Yeah. That's a really nice sentiment, you know, like if you were to flip that around and if she was like, you know, fearful or not supportive, not encouraging, imagine that. The trajectory could have been totally different, right?
100%.
So it speaks to the importance of that other person.
Your partner being in as well.
Totally.
Yeah, true. Didn't even think about that. God.
And so fast forward to present day, what are we about 6, 7, 8 years in?
I think I honestly.
When was that you left?
I saw something on LinkedIn the other day where people celebrate their, yearly thing, and I'm like, I don't do that. Like, should I be doing that? And so I tried to look back to find when my anniversary might be for starting the business, and I think I've got it scheduled sometime in this year for 8 years. Mid-year somewhere. So yeah, 7-ish years going on. So yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Because I remember when we first met up, I think you were either just out of teaching or just about to even.
Okay.
I don't remember what exact stage you're at, but I remember it was early on in the journey. And it was back when, as you say, Gary Vee was almost in his peak, his prime, right?
Yeah.
It was just everywhere.
Yeah.
And since then, I guess we've stayed in touch. We've made a bit of content together. We've done a couple of jobs together. And it's been cool to see the journey. And just, I guess one thing that prompted this episode today was just like seeing your YouTube content and just loving it.
Cool.
I just love watching it. It's
Cool.
a super cool way to interact. And like you say about video before, nothing else can communicate as well as video. Not yet anyway.
Yeah, totally. That's why I really fell in love with it. Like, and what you can do, even what you can do with editing, you can go to an event. Like I've shot a lot of events. It was probably my bread and butter for lots of years. What you can do for an event, you can be there, you can capture it, edit it, and people are like, we were at that event, it did not look that cool. Like you've made it look cool. And that's the goal really, is like to showcase whatever you're doing like to the best of your ability and make it look amazing, whether it be a wedding. Like I was editing a wedding today, and it's like, how do you celebrate this couple in the best way possible? Or it's like a business. How do you put their best foot forward so clients want to buy from them? Like that's the goal, really.
Totally.
But I don't want to go down the path too far. Like I've realized that there's the next steps where you've got a big crew, and then you're working on huge, massive, insanely ginormous budgets. Or I'm creating a feature film, And immediately my stomach's like, no,
Don't
I do not want that. So
Yeah.
I think that's where I guess I lean into what's best for the client, what's best for, that's going back to my business thoughts. Like I just want to create content that is going to be ultimately good for them. Like I want, if it's a cool video, but it doesn't convert or it doesn't do what they're after, then I've failed in a way. So I think that's where I'm at. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
But the YouTube channel is, I guess, completely different. YouTube is so selfishly for me. It's like documenting in my early year, the first year I quit, that first freelance year is all on YouTube. You can go find it every week. Every Sunday night, I'd smash through and edit.
Wow.
And then Monday morning, there'd be that week of what I got up to, because I thought it'd be so fun to look back on, and the highs, the lows. I got married in that year and did a bunch of things. But since then, recently, I'm uploading again on YouTube, but it's been freelance, inspired by a guy on YouTube that I watch, freelance vlogs. So same stuff. I really want to create content that me as a young whippersnapper would have wanted to consume. And even I think for people in Christchurch or New Zealand to watch another video creator making a living from doing this, there are a lot of people who want to do that. I take it for granted. But even on a building site yesterday, I was cruising around and I could see half the guys on that site looking at me like, oh man, I'm tired, I'm sore, and wait, this guy's just walking around with a gimbal?
Yeah.
Like wait, hold on. So yeah, I want to help others in a way, and teach people things that I wish I'd been able to find easier on YouTube. So it's kind of the path where I'm at. I haven't wanted that for the longest time. I've kind of just wanted to document me, but there's been a switch like flipped recently where I'm like, I want to share my Lightroom presets or share how I do this or how I edit that. Like, so yeah, it's the teaching coming back out, I guess.
Yeah, interesting. I guess since the time when you exited your role, I guess things have changed a little bit from a tech standpoint, both hardware and editing.
Definitely.
Probably the market demand as well has shifted a little bit, right? Like, still room for cinematic content, of course, but it's probably gone a little bit more raw and a bit more grittier, right?
True. Yeah, even in those, whatever it is, 7 years, there's been like, very rare if you have a fancy camera. Now, a lot of people have cameras that are pretty damn awesome nowadays for a good price point. And then now there has been that sort of like switch to more of a rougher look. And because you can swipe and you smell that ad within 0.2 of a second, it's clean and it's beautiful and it's color graded and it's
too
nice.
much.
And so you're on to the next thing. You want the shaky little iPhone shot, especially on like TikTok. That platform really rewards that rough iPhone-y content. So it's finding out where you fit. And even often campaigns, you look at Nike campaigns and insanely massive videos that they're shooting, and they're rough. They've got high-spec stuff and they're making it look really rough and making it look more like, I don't know, film. Like film's been a big push lately as well to get away from that digital crispness. Yeah,
and I guess with user-generated stuff coming out and that whole sector emerging as well, right? Interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, but like you say about the tools, like even watching I'm doing a wedding editing course at the moment with some people from all around the world, and I submitted a film for them to kind of pick apart, and there were things that I'd improve, and so they picked it apart today actually when I was doing the course, and the audio, for example, was not ideal. Long story short, I don't want to get into it because that's wedding filming in general. It's hard. It's a lot of pressure.
I bet.
But, the DJ tweaks something on his desk and it ruins your entire feed, and then you're losing, and you've got to scramble, and it's crazy. But even I ended up running up to the table where they were recording their speeches and slapping a mic down. And the guy on the course, Ben, shout out Ben, he was like, yeah, nowadays you would just put that into a software, clean that up, and it would be fine. But, 2-3 years ago, that wasn't even available. So you had to figure out what you could. But nowadays, it's getting easier and easier to have high quality, clean audio as well.
Do you have a favorite genre of video? So like wedding, sports, events, business,
yeah,
vlog,
good question.
YouTube.
I've on my Instagram, I've got my little sections, and they are fitness, fashion, music, and something else, and tourism.
Okay.
Tourism. So then those are my pillars that I really want to work more in. The fitness one is, well, those four are like fashion. I do nothing in fashion, but I want to. And so I'm like, I need to kind of at least put that out there to the world, and work out how I can dive into that niche. But I'm a big believer in putting out the content that you want to attract. So I'm doing a bad job of it, but I'm even reposting some music content that I shot years ago, because that is the sort of stuff that I want to be shooting. So like if I do a corporate job and it's pretty plain and pretty vanilla, and then I go to edit it and they make a bunch of changes to make it not the style that I would like, putting that out to the world is only going to attract clients that like that, and you didn't like making that, so it's probably not a good idea. That's a big lesson I've learned. Even on your website, you don't want to put work out there that you aren't proud of or that you don't want to attract or do more of. So
yeah,
it's been a big one.
Bit of a gut feel thing too, isn't it? You know, like technically something could be good and solid, but yet if it doesn't resonate and if it doesn't have that initial love, it's pretty hard to fabricate that, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. But then I guess I talk about those pillars, and I had weddings on there as one of them, but I've since bumped that to a whole separate Instagram account, and that's a space I really want to dive deeper into. But I've got this fresh little account with a few little videos on there, but I'd love to just find that sweet spot, because weddings are fun. I'm a little hopeless romantic, and that's important, and I want to find that balance and just have 10 weddings a year, because that's enough to get to know the couples, really tell their story, and not be like a robot that's putting out these cookie cutter kind of videos. So, yeah. But yeah.
Is that pressure manageable with a wedding? Like the stakes are relatively high. There's no real redos.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I love that.
You don't mind it?
I love that. I think it comes from the event space, and I've, as part of my recent YouTube journey, where I really want to dive deeper into creating content that is more evergreen. One of the videos I've got on my little list that I've written down is about events and filming events and some things to consider, because it's no joke, and people can crumble filming an event. And so I think if you cut your chops there, it steadies you pretty well for a lot of things, because you can just adapt on the fly, and that's very similar to a wedding. You've got to be ready to roll with the punches. A recent wedding I filmed, the MC just burst into an impromptu amazing song, and the crowd's going nuts, and he's screaming this a cappella.
Wow.
And I was like, where was this in the plan? But you've just got to figure it out and make sure you can capture it. So, which I think is a bloody good skill to have, really, for anything, because nothing, even on big corporate jobs, like things change, and they're like, no, you can't use this boardroom, you've got to use this room, and you've got to be able to adapt like that, which I think is a pretty handy skill.
Cool. I love it. What's your predictions or goals for the next, say, 5 to 10 years? Given the name of this podcast, right?
Yeah. Oh, geez.
I like to loop it back to the 10-year timeline, because it's far enough out that it's it's foreseeable, but it's still a wee way out.
Yeah, God, that scares me a little bit, to be honest. But funnily enough, I'm not big on this. Like, I'm not big on thinking about 3 years ahead or 5 years ahead. But yeah, I'll do it. I'll play the game, because I respect what you're doing as well. Part of me wants to just keep diving down this rabbit hole, but also really lean into family life to the best of my ability, because I've got a young one. He's just about 1.5, and the next 5 years, 10 years, are the biggest years of his life that I'll be a part of. But I think someone said an interesting stat, by the time they're, I can't remember what it was, maybe even 10 or 15, that your time with them is almost, 70, 80% up, because they kind of just flock the nest. So I want to be there. I want to enjoy the flexible nature of my work, so that I can enjoy moments with the family. It's big for me. And but I also want to just really attract clients that get the vibe, they're ready to push the boundaries, and at some point I want to work more with a product, whether that be digital or other. It could be a clothing brand, or it could be, especially in that fashion space, something like that I can kind of sink my teeth into as part of what I do. I think that would be fun, but I have no clue. If you've got any ideas, message me.
Quality antics.
Yeah.
Are you still going by that?
Yes.
handle.
Yeah. Still rolling with it, even though the antics are getting more dad-like.
Still quality,
but
though.
that's fine. But I just like the name.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's not Dave Media or something like that. It is its own little brand. And the shaka as well was just something, I don't even know how that came up as a logo, but I'm rolling with it. Love it. It's more because I am all about having fun times as well. So,
Nice. I like that. I remember one of your goals at one point, we talked about this on some kind of content, might have been a previous podcast or something. Remember you were like, I really want to do video work for a sporting organisation.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Oh,
and I think you specified the All Blacks, but you ended up doing a bit of stuff with another sporting team, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it came true in a way.
True. Okay. So I've got a good story about the All Blacks as well. Okay. So I like sport. Was trained as a PE teacher, so I'm all about it. And where do I start with this? I'd messaged the Tactics, the Christchurch netball team years ago, and said, hey, I'm a videographer. I'm big on shooting your shot. I'm big on sliding into the DMs. That's where I used to hustle early in the days and just make things happen. And I messaged them, and then probably didn't think too much of it and moved on with my day. And then a year or so later, I messaged them. I went to go message them, and I could see my last message from 2 years ago, and they'd never responded. And so I think I messaged them, oh, geez, this is awkward. But I'm reaching back out, like I'm still keen. And then funnily enough, this shout out Troy, the lovely lady, she was like, hey, I manage this account now from Netball New Zealand. They'd swooped up and picked up the team. And she's like, I've actually been following your work from this video that you made. And let's talk. And so I've been with the Tactics ever since, for every season since then. Maybe I'm almost on my fourth season potentially. And I love it. I just wish I could do more of it, to be honest. The way it works, the budgets, the way they've got to allocate it is like they've got to be very strategic about how they use me, which is fine. But man, the stories that you can tell with the team and individual players itself, I'm big on that. I'm a huge advocate. If you're an athlete out there and the fans get to know you more, they fall in love with you more, they want to come to your games more, they want to somehow buy more merch, which is only really good for the club. So if you have a team full of people who are sharing more, maybe it's a day in the life, maybe it's things on their Instagram, and it's like, I only think that's really valuable. But it's also valuable for the athletes, because if they are pretty slick at sharing content themselves, they attract brands. The likes of your Puma or whoever is in that space might want to touch them, get in touch with them to work with them. So there's another opportunity for them to make some coins. So I've been doing that. It's been really fun. But tying back to the All Blacks, because that was the goal. I wanted to share stories, and I always refer to this example of Andrew Mertens. Like, as a kid growing up, he was like the pinnacle. You just wanted to consume, you just wanted to learn anything about him. But back in the day, it was nothing. It wasn't a thing. So if I could somehow come in and do that, I thought it'd be awesome and really beneficial. Since then, years go by, they've only gotten better. Crusaders have only gotten slicker and slicker with their content. I've watched it happen. Shout out Jack Grant, a guy who's been there for the last few years, but he's just moved on to the All Blacks. The All Blacks job came up recently, and I got sent it by a friend, and she said, hey, you should apply. I thought, this is it. This is the dream job. I'm going to be traveling, to the Northern Hemisphere with the All Blacks on tour and all of that stuff. Then I looked at the job description and I thought more about it. How is this going to change my lifestyle? And I'm like, no, this isn't, wait a minute. This is my dream job here, but I don't want that. I think maybe what I'm doing right now is my dream job. And I had this moment where I realized and the Crusaders needed a new person. And I thought, actually, no, what I'm doing right now, I'm loving. So that was a weird moment.
Wow.
When I realized a goal that I'd had years ago, I finally had the chance to step closer towards that goal, and I was stepping away. So I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I
guess it does speak to the power of setting that goal to begin with, though, and learning along the way that it wasn't the right thing
Totally.
versus drifting around aimlessly.
But yeah, I guess in setting the goal, you start to think about the skills that you'd need to acquire, to what you would do differently. You start to, like in my case, you'd analyze content that they were doing and think about ways that you could do it differently. You, even with working with the tactics as well, it's like I was thinking, how can I put my footprint on this as well? So, but yeah, I guess goals for me at the moment is a tough one because I don't even know what I'm doing in like 2 months' time. So, which is all part of the fun freelance journey. But for some people, it's their worst nightmare.
Yeah. It's not for everyone.
No, I don't think so.
No.
But I don't even know how I make it work. Like, I've got some big events booked in the calendar, but then besides that, I don't know. The phone just rings, I guess.
Yeah,
which is good.
Yeah. What about the option of full-time YouTube? Is that on the cards as an option?
No, no. Like honestly, I've thought about it, but like the like I just made a video last week talking about carrying my camera with me everywhere I go. It's just sitting over there, and because it was the way I'd edited it, I learned from some people online, and it was just, it's getting a few thousand views, like for me, which is great. And I was like, that little tweak in me said, oh, could we double down on this? And like, because I've got all the skills to be able to create the channel and talk about what I need to talk about, but trying to make it work financially from just YouTube AdSense sounds like it's a bit of a very lofty goal. You'd have to have a few other partners in mind, videos brought to you by sponsors. Sponsors are a big part of it. So definitely not ruling it out, but I think I'm going to enjoy the next maybe year of just experimenting with that. And because I think YouTube's only getting bigger and bigger as a platform. So people say it's too late and other people say the time is now to get started with that stuff. So it's, I think even if I experiment with YouTube for a year and learn about click-through rate and thumbnails and all of that stuff, it's only going to benefit my clients that when they come and chat to me about that. Like if they ask me, hey, how long should our video be? I'd like to have some experience around that I can help. So same with making a podcast. Like I've made a podcast before, partially because I wanted to learn how to do it so that if a client came to me, I could actually help them. But
cool. Yeah, I like that. What do you reckon with YouTube? Like what's your top couple of accounts?
Oh, that I follow?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
Any favorites?
Really putting me on the spot here. I want to grab my phone. There's been a few strange ones lately, but some that are classics that pop to mind. Danny Gewurz, he's a YouTuber from America and makes awesome stuff. And he does pretty in-depth behind the scenes and stuff as well, which is really handy. Goodness gracious me. There's a guy called James Popsis, I don't even know if that's how you say his name, based in Wales potentially. Photographer, does quite interesting, simple YouTube videos where he'll just walk and talk to the camera about different concepts. But he really inspired me to. He's one of the big inspirations for me to start snapping more. I love his work, even bought his photo book, shipped it over from the UK, so that was cool. And there's another guy, I'm going to butcher his name. I wish I really need to know it. Is it Augie? It'll be in the show description. Okay, he's a photographer from New York who, I don't know why, but I am just drawn to his channel. Like, he's so raw and so authentic, and it's just, you can't look away. It's insane. So it sounds like he used to be a YouTuber years ago and a BMXer. I don't know. It sounds like he's had an interesting life. And now he's fired back up his YouTube really recently. And so I've just randomly stumbled in, and he was traveling around India, taking photos, a lot of film photos at a wedding in India. And he just takes you along on this journey with like his shaky camera, and he shows you some photos, but man, you just feel like you're in there with him. And it's like, he made me want to go to India just by watching him cruise around and get lost and sit on a train for 36 hours. And I don't know. There's something I love about that, like rawness as well, which I guess is what people are searching for, is that authentic self instead of like this polished version, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I guess there's something that you just can't define always.
Mm.
What draws you to a channel or a
Yeah.
creator, right?
Yeah, definitely. And even in the comments, you'll see it. People are like, I just love your videos.
I'm
And
into
it's like,
this.
wait, yeah, what's drawn them in? Like, his music's kind of really abstract. He has this insanely massive dog. He lives in his own loft. He doesn't have a shower. He doesn't have a kitchen. And it's like he is slumming it. Like, he is slumming it for the craft, it's just fascinating.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's terrific.
It's insane the amount of content on there and the quality of content. It's staggering, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's go down any little niche and you've got, like, for example, golf. Like, you've got videos up the wazoo and they are amazing. So it's an incredible resource, really.
Golf made me think of Toby.
Oh yeah,
Stick.
Oh yeah,
Stick NZ.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also at
We're trying to collaborate
on a wider. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
On a wider lens, the amount of connections that have started with you as the point of origin.
Really?
It's so
Okay.
cool. Yeah, I've had so many awesome guests and new connections thanks to you.
Cool, mate. There's something, I don't know. There's something about that. I think I've realized in freelance is that connections are, as I get older, I'm less likely to want to go out to a party late at night and do all the networking and stuff. But yeah, connections are key in business. And I think, some people out there who will go and burn bridges and, I don't know, be super selfish with the way they do business as well. And I think it just doesn't go too well for them.
No.
But yeah, you've had some awesome guests and even some of them I've never met, but but through the grapevine, I'm supporting them, or it's crazy. But
It is crazy.
It's a small world at the end of the day.
Yeah, because I think the first one was Jock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jock was the initial first connection.
Yeah.
And then that led to Josh at the Doom Room
Oh, okay.
and Rick's Ribs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That was a cool podcast. He's interesting. He's a crack.
super cool. Yeah. And then Leadhead.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And
But he's just been everywhere, all over my feed, and so. Even I was dropping my son off at preschool and there was a guy walking around with a lead hat and that was the conversation. We just got straight into it and I was like,
Right.
That's cool.
classic.
Mm.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's Guido and then there's
Ah.
probably more. I think there's a few more, but
Yeah.
It's a super small world and very lucky to have some awesome friends and supporting me and awesome people following online, I think, which is partly because I share what I'm up to a lot of the time and they're like, oh yeah, cool, I'll come along for part of that journey. And for me, I'll have clients reach out to me years later and they're like, they'll chat to me about things that I've been yarning about on my Instagram story. And people shy away from that, but it is way more valuable than you think.
Agreed.
So if you're not doing it, honestly, get on it. You just get better and better at speaking to the camera, which is only going to be like beneficial in my opinion. And then if people see a face behind the brand as well, I don't know. I think there's something really good about that. Like there was a creator reached out to me the other day. He wants to work with me on some projects, and I went to his website and I couldn't find a picture of him anywhere. And for some reason that bugged me. I was like, "Who is this person?
I need to know.
Like, just who are you?"
I need a reference
and
point.
I can't find that out. And so, because businesses aside, like, I guess people are connecting with other people. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one reason why business pages don't do so well on LinkedIn, is that it's just not really what you're there for, right?
Yeah.
You're there for people.
True. I kind of forget about the whole business page on LinkedIn, actually. I need to do better at LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn would be a good place to get some high quality leads for video.
Probably.
But yeah, good reminder.
I think what would be your favourite platform to both consume and produce for?
Jeez. It's got to be, my gut's just Instagram. A lot of what I do just seems to be on Instagram. But I love YouTube. YouTube is great just for different things. Facebook is a weird one for me. I don't really know where that stands. But LinkedIn is good. I just feel like I go there and within 2 minutes I'm kind of like, what is this? And it's like it's just people being like, hey guys, I've got this new qualification, and hey, here's this new project that we've done and it was amazing, and like comment about that. And it's just like this gloaty space. Yeah. Which is cool. It's great if you want to see people doing other big things and you're like, oh, okay, I'll hire them for this, whatever. But Yeah, I still need to figure it out, I think.
Mm.
My friend Kurt's been posting a bit more on there recently. For some reason, I think he's just wanting to up his game. So I appreciate that. I appreciate what he's doing. I think I probably need to do it more, actually.
Yeah. They're all different worlds, aren't they?
Mm.
The Instagram world, the Facebook world. Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's Gary Vee or who. It was probably heaps of people who say it, but you just like recycling the same content on every platform. Like you'll notice it if you start doing it. That certain things will resonate with different platforms. So I go to LinkedIn for a different reason to when I'm on Instagram than when I'm on YouTube or Facebook. So I guess it's meeting the people where they are is important. So
Yeah. What would you say to someone hypothetically, but like myself, that wants to
do this?
I would love to have more lifestyle like vlog style content on YouTube, but the barrier, the thing with editing it just scares me off.
Yeah, I would. I guess I can steer you this way, but there's a guy called David Moorfield in America who really inspired me to start filming more on my phone. He's was doing behind the scenes freelance vlogs. Everything's on his phone. He'll voice it over even on his phone and edit it on his phone and post it. I don't do that. I bring all the clips into my editing software, but he's more faster and loose than me. He's just like, yep, I'm going to get this out. The more barriers, like you say, the more barriers to entry, it's just going to mean that you're probably not going to do it. So I'd probably keep it super simple. Definitely use your phone. It's amazing probably what you can do nowadays with your phone, and don't hesitate too much. There's a million things running around my head, but there's a book called The Dip, which I've just read recently, and I feel like I have to give it a plug. If you're watching this, you might get some value from it by, I think it's Seth Godin.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. But man, interesting book, and it makes me think straight away. You're like, okay, talking about wanting to create some video series. Okay, imagine you're out there and you're wanting to do a clothing side hustle. Seth would say in this dip concept that it's like, unless you're ready to commit to full plunging into this world and be the best apparel brand in the world, then don't bother in a way. So I found that really fascinating. It made me reevaluate a lot of things that I do with my time and how I spend my time, because if I'm doing something and I'm kind of mediocre at it, it's like, well, either I want to be the best at the world at this, or I'm wasting time that I could be spending on my things that I want to be really, really good at.
I like that.
So yeah, it's like with anything new that you might want to start is like, hey, picture this 5 years down the track or 10 years down the track, being really successful. What is that going to look like? Am I ready for that? Do I want that? Or am I going to hit some dips, as like they would call it, where it kind of gets hard? And you start anything, if you start your lifestyle vlog, the first few people are going to engage with it, and you're going to be like, this is great. Same with all my vlog times that I've had, the first few, your aunties are all commenting and it's so great. And then they disappear. They're off busy doing things and they miss you when you share it or whatever. And if you can't handle all that, the dip of that lull of just having to grind it out, because that will come. That will come with anything that's worthwhile doing. I just found that insight and that thought really interesting, because I'm like, it made me realize what I really wanted to do, and what I'm immediately nope, I want to step back from this. But
it's a good filter. Yeah. I've definitely learned the value of saying no and rejecting opportunities and discarding things.
That's a big one.
It is a big thing. Yeah.
Saying no is hard at times. You feel like you want to please everyone,
totally.
But often by saying yes, sometimes you're really setting yourself up for so much failure and making your life harder. It's like, yeah. But yeah.
I guess it comes with time, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But sometimes you just got to say yes to everything, especially in early days of business or whatever, and you learn and you make mistakes, but and you'll have sleepless nights thinking about projects, and you'll work for massive long days, and sometimes you just got to suck it up and do that stuff. But yeah, it's all part of the fun, I guess. Yeah.
Totally. Have you got a favorite podcast, just on a random tangent?
I'm a really big YouTube I'm bad in that I'll often hit play on a YouTube long form video and then just like listen to that through my earpods or in the car. So Colin and Samir put out some interesting stuff, long form stuff on YouTube. Seth Godin had a podcast that I did listen to at some point. Like I've been a Hamish and Andy raving fan at some years, but then you just get busy and you get out of the groove of listening to a podcast. Like, for example, your podcast, listened to about 3 last night and I was like, these are all fantastic. Why have I not been listening to them? Like, how have you not got into cracked into my daily rhythm and somehow made it, like, I don't know, let's figure that out right now. But, I find that stuff interesting. So somehow I'll go on YouTube, get randomly fed a random video and blindly just say, yep, that looks interesting. And then away I go. But I think I need to dial back a bit with that because I need music. I need something. My wife's like, hey, you can just have silence for a little bit.
It's okay.
Yeah. She's like, your undiagnosed ADHD is getting out of control. But, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. I think also with content, there's seasons, like there's phases and seasons that you go through, like Gary Vee, for example. Totally. Huge season I went through with that.
Totally.
I mean, I guess I still see him every now and again, and I've read most of his books, but do I follow him on a regular basis? No. Same as like some of those guys like Casey Neistat, like great content creator.
Yes.
Such good, wholesome, positive, engaging content, but I don't know.
Totally. That's so true. But then I guess on the flip, like as that creator, like Gary, for example, does he just attract a whole new audience and then he's just soldiering along? I don't know. I wonder.
It's a great question.
Yeah, because that's a big one. Because like even me making my little YouTube videos each week, there was an audience that like started to, watch that.
Community.
And then all of a sudden I disappeared because I wasn't doing them anymore. And then they would have found other things. And then when I come back, if I come back and they're in a different mindset and they're watching some other videos, then they, like exactly the same. It's kind of like seasons. Same with this Augie guy that I'm following. I just randomly happened to jump on the ship at the right time when he was firing back up, and I'm right in the mix of it, which is just like weird.
So fascinating.
But yeah, you're a big book guy. You're a big book guy. What's your what are some book recommendations that you have for me then?
Depends
I've
on.
just like The Dip.
Yeah.
And I've just read The Creative Act by Rick Rubin.
Oh yeah.
Which I read in about 15 different chunks. But I feel like you could honestly pick that book up at like any stage and get a little nugget. But
agreed.
Yeah.
Great
and I'm
book.
reading Harry Potter at the moment, which is something slightly different. Very good for a mindless. Because I struggle with reading businessy stuff right before bed.
Right.
Like,
a lot of them blend in together, to be honest. A lot of them I read, I get through, and I'm like, what just happened? And that's nothing to be proud of, but it's just the reality. I think if you can get one good concept or take away from a book, it's a win. I really like the 4-Hour Work Week.
Oh, yep.
That's a good one. I like Buy Back Your Time.
Okay.
That's an absolute must read.
Speaking of buying back time, what are your thoughts on, just going to pick your brain now, what are your thoughts on virtual assistants? Have you used them?
I don't like them.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't like them at all.
Tell me why.
Not for me anyway.
Tell me why.
I think there's value in them, and I think if you can get into a system or a process that works for your business, absolutely. I've got friends that have got them and love them, speak highly of them, but for me, I just find that the communication awkwardness or friction is too high. I don't like that. And maybe it's my lack of patience that kicks in there. But for me, I'm not a fan.
What? So is it that you give them a task and you need to be too hands-on in that task? So it's like, what's the point?
What's the point? Yeah.
Is that it?
And the differential in value, like, you might get them for $5, $6, $7 US an hour. But if you want to get someone for, whatever the New Zealand equivalent of that would be, maybe 25, 30 an hour, it's just not worth it.
Okay.
And I feel that for anything that you're going to be getting them to do, you can probably automate that or AI it anyway.
Definitely.
Don't know.
Yeah, you are right, but I think I'm really thinking about it just to dabble because this is all part of this, like, where am I spending my time?
Yeah. And
how am I maximizing the time where I can do my thing that's like going to help me grow and be the best of the world at this. And some of that backgroundy stuff, I'm like, I've said at one point that I'd love to get my wife to jump in and help me, but she's busy doing her thing and growing and developing. So Also, I'd hate to be, there's like a big point of friction. Hey, have you responded to that email about that? Like, it'd be hard as a couple crushing business together, but I guess you figure it out. But yeah, so, and I don't want to, I'm frightened to death of hiring people.
Right.
The thought of hiring someone.
Just the overhead, you mean?
Yeah.
Or the responsibility, the commitment?
All of the
All of the
above.
above.
The commitment. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the thought of, even my good friend Kurt, shout out Kurt, we've talked about, collaborating at some point, together.
Right.
But like, I don't want to, the thought of making sure that I've got to worry about my own mortgage, let alone him and what he's doing. So I don't know how, shout out to all the business owners out there who they've got a lot of people that they've got to make sure the money's coming in for. And with what I'm currently doing being so like fluid, if I had a few retainer clients, maybe I'd be way more comfortable about that. But but with retainer clients comes other problems. You have a lot of retainer clients, your books are filled with retainer stuff, and then a big, insane, jaw-dropping project comes in. You can't service that, or it's way harder to get that completed because your books are filled. So it's like, but if your books aren't filled, then there's no money coming in. But then, it's waiting for the big fish, but if it never comes, then stuck, yeah.
The question of scale.
Yeah.
The cool thing is there's so many ways to go about that now. There's so many different iterations or options, like you can pay gate content, you can create communities, you can create courses. You've got preset pack, haven't you?
Yes.
Every good YouTuber does.
Yeah, link in the description. No, but then with that, I was like, I'd bought hundreds and hundreds of dollars of presets for Lightroom for editing my photos. And, I'd say 98% of them were absolute garbage. And I was researching and figuring out, I was like, I want to have an online product, like a digital product is unreal. I wake up in the morning and someone's bought something. I didn't have to do anything.
That's pretty cool.
This is mint. So then I just spent like a week straight, like getting the site and everything sorted. But right before I was about to set it all up and launch it, I saw a YouTube video and it was about this guy and his presets. I was like, well, these look nice. I'm going to buy these. And if I learn one thing, it's worth it, whatever. Bought them. And I was like, ew, these are not good. And I'd try a million different things. And I'm like, it only reinforced that I need to get mine out to the world because I think they're way better than anything I've ever used. But then it's like, now I've got that out into the world. Have I made a targeted ad or done anything with that? No. I've posted on Instagram. So I need to do better. But I guess that's where YouTube can also come in as well, where I can sit down and edit some photos and people see that and they like my style. Because at the end of the day, it's all subjective. I like to edit my photos differently to anyone else out there. So, but yeah, it's a fun space that I want to get more involved with, like digital products. Oh,
yeah, you've bought a few, you mentioned.
Yeah,
cool.
Heaps. But even then, I don't want to bag on someone, but the James Pops, this guy that I love from the UK. Another way, I guess, all of this stuff is a way to support someone. So you might not be able to book me as a videographer or photographer, for budgets, whatever. But then, like for me, I can't book this guy to come and shoot stuff. So a way that I can say thanks for all the learnings and everything is to support him buy something.
Yes, yeah.
So I bought his photo book and then I ended up buying his presets because same thing. I wanted to if I learn one thing or two things from him,
yes,
I love his style. So cool, let's go for it. Then I was like, what? How do I work these? These aren't looking good at all with all of my photos. And then after a lot of tweaking, I got some to a point that I really liked, but there was no tutorial. There was no, in my pack, I've got almost an hour of me sitting down talking about how I dive into my settings and how I shoot to enhance these looks because I feel like I need that. And then he's a big time, hundreds of thousands of people follow him. So, he doesn't make any of that stuff, which I think is super valuable. So, yeah.
The conversion of attention to money, that's the fascinating thing for me at the moment.
Yeah.
And as I say, there are heaps of ways to go about it, whether it's a Patreon or, I don't know if you've seen those buy me a coffee type
that?
links or concepts,
Yeah.
but it's essentially if, you've got a brand or a creating account, you can buy someone a metaphorical coffee, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a way to pay back if you're super pumped on someone's content.
I love that stuff though.
That is
Like
cool.
speaking of that, that Augie guy that I like on YouTube, he's got a Patreon. Casey Neistat's brother, Van Neistat, has a really interesting YouTube channel. He's got a Patreon. So yeah, that as an artist, like they're great ways that you can kind of this other massive. If you're into this video space and you're watching this, then the Wandering DP on YouTube, another massive, amazing resource. He posts a bunch of videos, shoots really high-end commercials over in Australia, but he breaks down lighting. He breaks down a lot of awesome things, and he has a Patreon where he has a lot more content, which I think is a real cool. Yeah, it is a cool space, and it's a way that people can buy a coffee, a month maybe to help support someone. So yeah.
Yeah, I like it. What made you think of the virtual assistant? Is that something that you've been
just literally doing admin-y stuff
Right.
and thinking, is this the best use of my time? And how do I maximize the time where I'm working on being the best at what as I can be? And I'm just like, interesting. It's an interesting concept. And I think a friend of mine shared a link of someone, and so yeah, I'm gonna give it a crack, I think, and see how it goes. But my wife might watch this, but we're planning to go to Bali later this year to visit a good friend of mine and his partner and their family. And I just had a thought last night, like, wait a minute, this virtual assistant could plan my entire trip, the itinerary, the flights, all of that stuff that I suck at. I suck at a lot of that stuff. So I've famously booked wrong rental cars and all these different things. So I hate all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, if I can outsource some of that, then and then my wife just has this beautiful itinerary sent to her. She'll love that. So
That would be a win.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
What tends to happen though is the tasks that you're not necessarily good at are generally the ones that don't make money.
Mm.
And the ones that do pump you up and give you energy are usually the things that do make money and make you happy, right?
Yeah.
And so the premise of Buy Back Your Time, the book, Dan Martell, is essentially to figure out what you can afford to buy back, like what you can justify, but then just do it in an incremental, scalable way. And whether it means starting with a VA or starting with automation or starting with just smaller chunks and then getting to the point where you're solely buying back everything that you don't like doing. And it's a great book.
Cool. Yeah, I need to pick that up actually.
Highly recommend it.
Speaking of buying, I guess that really links in is that automation. That's a big trend I've seen lately where creators will have those auto chat. You comment something in the comments, and then they'll send you a DM with that's getting better and better. Where if you want a little preset pack, or maybe it's here's 100 viral hooks and all these different things. Lots of creators are using those tools where you comment and then they start a bit of a conversation. That all sounds like it's all automated.
Yeah.
Which is another good tool. Another good YouTube channel is James Smith. James Smith BT.
Yeah.
He's famously had a huge YouTube channel with millions of subscribers and then kind of just ditched it and started fresh. I don't know if have you seen any of his stuff? It's very interesting.
He doesn't hold back, does he?
No.
Man, he's got no filter, does he?
No. He'll be talking about business 1 minute and then just I don't even want to say what I was going to say.
I know exactly what you were referring to.
Okay, yeah. We'll leave it there. But definitely check it out. I think he's got some interesting insight.
His books are good.
Oh,
Have you read his books?
Yes. Yeah, I have. Yeah, they were good. But no, I found some good value from him. There's another creator that my good friend Callum just sent me who he said that James Smith learned a lot from, but I've never checked him out yet. But it's a never-ending pit of content to kind of consume. But going back to what you're saying, like attention is a lot of it. Attention is everything. So how people spend their time, and the average Joe is sitting down on the couch after a hard day's work. Where are they? Are they watching Netflix? Are they consuming whatever as a business or as a business trying to sell things and hiring someone like me to try and get that attention? It's a battle at times. So that's why you see a lot of, I don't know, you'd call it, there's a lot of content out there that is very soulless. It's very like there is no real story going on in this piece. It's especially in the video world. I'll bag on my own community, but they'll pump out insane videos. They're beautiful.
Right.
But it's like, what is this? You watch it And you're like, nothing really happened. It was just like there was a girl on the beach and then there was a sunset. And it's all
Right.
mashed together with some cool sound effects. But like you walk away kind of like, what? Like there's no
Don't resonate with that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so because it gets eyeballs, you know, and it's short and it's snappy and the sound effects are dialed. And so it's like it's a vicious cycle to kind of have to play into that. I'm glad I'm not a creator that has to get views. I'm not like an influencer that needs likes to appeal to an agency or something. But speaking of agency, we should talk about freelance life and agency life and everything else. My spiel very quickly. Gosh, I've been in the depths of an agency.
True.
I'm a freelancer. I've had a freelance life, and I guess, worked in house for different companies as well. And they all have their pros and their cons. Where to begin?
What do you prefer?
Well, clearly I prefer freelance. Like that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
I guess that comes in waves of life and where you're at. And at times I've just craved that team environment and craved working with other people. And so that's where agency life or working in-house has just really given me that. Because you just get to work alongside other people and you're chatting away at Smoko and at 4 o'clock or whatever, you're done. You know, you clock off and you're done.
That's it.
So like, was it last year or the year before? I was working for an agency for like maybe 3 days a week, and I thought I'll fill my other time with other things, and ended up, you know, you're going snowboarding. I learned how to DJ, and I was just like, I trained for a half Ironman, and I could do all these things that was in my spare time because I juggled it. I wasn't wanting to come home and edit films when I was working in house. I was like, ugh, you know. But you just get fed clients, and you get fed. Here's the brief. We've got to get it done. And whereas when you work for yourself, you can help craft a lot of that with the client, and you're working a lot more hands on with the client. So honestly, it's really fun in house, and it can be really rewarding. Shout out Great Scott. I was working at Great Scott, their agency here in Christchurch. They were really awesome to me. They were so fun. And we did some awesome projects as well. Like, man, even traveled around the country to a few different places. And kind of cut my chops with different editing software and taught a bunch of people how to edit there as well. So it was really fun. But there's something good about being out on your own and I don't know, you're sipping your morning coffee, you're about to just take on the world and kind of any email could come in and steer you in a different direction in a month's time. There's something really insane about that.
So interesting, isn't it? The pros and cons of both.
Yeah.
I think what I've learned lately is the common denominator for success in my mind anyway is just being around good people.
Yeah.
And so if my day can be spent interacting with people that I enjoy, that are positive, uplifting, and a good time, then that's winning, you know?
Totally.
The money's one part of it, but I find that when you're doing that, then it flows. It's an after effect.
Yeah. There's something to that though. There is something so to that. Like what is it called? Like there are energy vampires out there. There's some people that just really like kill the mood and kill the vibe and others that don't.
Yeah.
And you walk away from some interactions and you're like, you're G'd up, ready for the day.
100%.
And it's like, oh, wow, okay, that's cool. And so, yeah, like you say, the more you can kind of get those interactions in your day, the better your day's going to be, the better your year's probably going to be. And then all the financial stuff or the business stuff will probably like flow on with that as well.
I think so.
Yeah.
You still in that co-working space?
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I was, since I've gone freelance, I've been like bouncing around different cafes and figuring out where to settle. And I kind of like part of that as well, this like nomad cafe life where you just go to different places. But I've got a pretty awesome home office. And so a little sit-stand desk and a nice setup. My dog's there. It's like really nice. But I don't know, a few days a week I'd like to just dabble and get into town. You kind of get a good, it's not a pulse on the city, but I like the busyness of city life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably from watching Casey Neistat's vlogs back in the day. But so I'll try and sneak into town a couple of days a week if I haven't got shoots on. And then I've been going to lots of different cafes, but Scoundrel is a really popular cafe for other freelancers. It's a good wee spot. And then I'll just work from home. So, yeah, good mix. But if you're busy shooting, I've got a wedding this weekend, and if you're busy shooting throughout the week, you kind of blink and the week goes. But yeah.
Yeah. It's funny how everyone's got their own flavors, like their own preferences. Like for me, that is my worst nightmare.
Oh yeah,
being in cafes.
Are they?
Yeah.
Why? What is it about? Just
hate it.
the people coming and going.
Just hate it. Hate the noise, the disruption.
Yeah, but
Too
I
distracting.
guess certain tasks I'm doing, then that can be a really like satisfying place to be. But if you
Right.
really need to zone in, it'd be horrific. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take this concept one step further this year and try to spend a bit more time in Auckland.
Ooh,
And
okay.
just try to get into that bigger city energy.
Yeah,
Because it's so different up there.
Yeah. Even Auckland's a different kettle of fish. And then once you've worked in there, it sounds like you Sydney and Melbourne and all that's like another whole world again, like jumping over there. So I guess it's where if you want to like I was in an office with an amazing bunch of guys from a production company here in Christchurch, and I wanted to do exactly that. I wanted to be in an environment where I'm surrounded by people that inspire me. Their work is incredible. And so the goal with sitting with them in an office was to, I don't know, just like a little bit of that rubs off on you. You know what I mean? Like you see how people, I think surrounding yourself and putting yourself in an environment is important. Yeah.
Big time.
Auckland. How are you going to do that?
Just start.
Airbnbs, or have you got a property there, or you?
Nah, I haven't really mapped this out in great depth, but I just use extremes or I use contrast to explain things. So like, for example, being in the West Coast for a little bit over Christmas, New Year's, and just experiencing how slow that is.
Oh, yeah.
It's sort of the opposite of a bigger city. And so for me, it's really important to get a bit uncomfortable and to get into environments that are hard and not,
Cool.
there's no complacency.
Yeah.
So for me, I want to grow and I want to expand and just, stretch myself. And so I see Auckland as a bigger city, a bigger economy, and just more challenging. And so I think it's helpful to add a bit of that spice to your life,
Cool. Yeah, I sound like the complete opposite, but we were watching a video on Bali the other day, and I'm like, whoa, this looks so good. Why doesn't not everyone live there? Like, but obviously you'll be there for a few weeks and you'll be like, get me out of here. I want a different environment. But you hear of these digital nomads that just go surfing and then just do their emails and like that's their life, So
that's half of YouTube's on there.
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah, I know. But no, that makes sense for you. It's like, yeah, totally. You gotta be uncomfortable as well. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Auckland and then Brisbane's the next.
Oh, geez.
The next
okay.
phase, yeah. But that's down the road.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So cool, man.
Okay.
Well, let's wrap it up, shall we?
Sweet.
It's been a good yarn.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
We're gonna link your stuff below.
Cool.
So good, man.
Awesome.
I love catching up with you. It's such a good vibe. And
Yeah.
it's working to make this happen. It's just taken 183 or so episodes.
I know. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're almost 200. That's what I was hearing in one of your podcasts when I was driving here. I was like, geez, yeah, you've been crushing it.
Boy, have we got a surprise for the 200th episode.
Oh, okay.
I'm not quite going to unveil it, but it's going to be something special.
Ooh, is it going to be? Oh, I don't want to say.
I'll
What
give
I was
you a
gonna say.
clue. It's not going to be in New Zealand.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
great.
Yeah,
Love that.
There you go.
Bali.
You're a legend, Dave. I love your work. We'll see you again soon.
Awesome. Cheers, mate. Thanks
Cool.
for having me.
Thanks.